even if you go 2 years back, I was telling people TikTok is a new Fintech tool. Still even today, people know it's all about dancing kids and stuff like that. But now it's so obvious if you are into it, how the Finfluencers are moving from all across the channels into TikTok. And what that tells me is that creativity is taking place.
Using terminology there that I didn't know exist. Finfluencer, which is an influencer in the fintech space.
The kind of influencers that talk about finances or talk about fintech. They talk about trends, they talk about wallets, about exchanges, their opinion about it.
If I had to, let's say, I'm a potential customer, I'll come to you and I'll say, this is a standard answer. I'm assuming you're going to give it. It depends. And of course it depends. Oftentimes I see this customer just wants an answer, right?
Yes.
So just give me a defined answer.
Every time.
Yes. So what would you say is the best platform?
Google has always been the leading platform for lead generation and conversion because there's a lot of data there to help you optimize fast. But at the same time, Meta for some reason it still works a lot.
The main objective that I've realized out of the algorithm is to identify pure craftsmanship, like actual content that is delivered without the intent of sale, if that makes sense.
This shift is actually the new reality. Pushy sales, people don't like it anymore. I mean, imagine how many years of sales you've been exposed to. It's pretty much everywhere you go. So the moment you get your phone and you want to get your mind out of things, you don't want to see another ad, you don't want to hear people selling. At the end of the day, it's like being on the radio. Let's say you're driving, you listen to your favorite song and then suddenly they put commercial. It's pretty much the same. It's as annoying as the commercials on TV radio, at least for me.
Welcome to the Financial Frontiers podcast. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon to get notified when we upload new content. Follow us on Spotify and give us a 5-star rating. It will help the channel, which I hope you love so much. Another episode of the Financial Frontiers podcast. I always started like that. It just so happened that I always start the episode by saying another episode of the Financial Frontiers podcast. So today, Themis, I didn't get your surname?
Christou.
Themis Christou is my guest. Today, we're talking about generally our industry, brokerage, prop trading, with some focus on marketing, which is your background. Themi, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming through. Please introduce yourself. Let's get into a conversation over here.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I actually started as a classical pianist, something that not many people know, studying in London.
You look like a pianist.
Thanks. People tell me about my long fingers.
Nice.
The thing is that while I was studying piano, even during my undergraduate studies, I always knew that this is something that I just enjoy and not to do as a profession. And within the second year, I started exploring how I can get into business and marketing. And thankfully, the university I was in was quite forward-thinking. And within the third year, I started doing as a side within my degree, music marketing. And the more I was getting into the business side of boosting and promoting the product itself, which was the arts back then, the more I was enjoying it, and more clear was becoming that this is where I want to head towards. And yes, I finished my degree, and then I moved into my master's degree into arts marketing and management. And I was very, very fortunate to do two strong internships in London. One was at the Barbican Centre, which is the biggest art centre in Europe. It's actually, let's say, the house of London Symphony Orchestra. So I get to meet a lot of powerful people, influential people, and learn from the source how you can promote very, very strong and big brands, and even these ones, the work that needs to be done. So it doesn't matter how successful you are, the work is always there. And the second internship, which really helped me kick my career, was at the London Mayor's Office. Back then it was the very first time in Britain and London that the Mayor's Office was opening an internship. They were looking somebody to work under Boris Johnson back then and help within the marketing sphere of things. And I was the very first intern they ever had, a Cypriot young guy out of nowhere. My English back then was also very poor, or I wasn't as, confident to speak. But somehow I convinced them to hire me, and that opened from there a lot of doors. I had a job opportunity for Sony EMI back then, even MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in New York. So yes, everything was going really well for me in terms of marketing within the, the cultural sphere. But then 2013 came, crisis came in Cyprus. I had some family, emergency. I had to move back to Cyprus, although everything was very good there. And I had to start over because the cultural space here in Cyprus is not as big. I started with Rialto Theatre, very basic things, but then I knew from the first month that it's not enough for me. And that's how I decided to get into the Forex industry. It was, one-way street if you really wanted to do something back then. And I remember, as if it's today, I was approached by, back then, the director of Orbex, if you know them. And this guy approached me on LinkedIn. I like your CV, I like your background, let's have a chat. I go for a chat. We really kicked it off. We liked each other. And then he was like, we hired the marketing manager. He starts on Monday. I want to also arrange a meeting between the two of you. So she's also confident before I say and commit to anything. And I remember meeting back then Marilena, which is now DuPrime. So we really enjoyed each other, and that's how I started basically my career in Forex. But one thing I didn't know back then, and it's very interesting to share, is that when the director said to Marilena, I have this guy, I liked him, have a look. She was like, no Forex experience. He might look like a good guy, but I'm starting a new position here. I want somebody to know how to do things. I'm looking for an experienced guy. And this Leith, the director back then, pushed, and that's how we met. And after that, I think we've been working with Marilena for over 10 years or close to 10 years together. We grew a lot of companies together. This is where I learned most of the things that I know today. And point of my story is that yes, Forex is dynamic, is fast, but do give people a chance. Marilena took a chance on me, and I think I proved my way, and that's why she was taking me with her along wherever she was going. And after that, we reached to a point that we were both experienced enough and respectful to each other enough to take our own, ways. And yes, suddenly I am also, CMO into this industry. And it's 12 years passed fast, nothing happened, and here I am today. So yes, that's pretty much the sum of my experience so far. Then I went from Forex industry and brokerage firms to prop firms. And August last year, I started my own company. It's called Uveler. We are a marketing firm. Our purpose is to serve and try to grow businesses within the fintech industry. specializing in Forex and props, and mostly on the growth part, on the, let's say, to take a company from A to B, and from there to the rest of the markets. And yeah, I think that sums it up pretty much.
Oh, that's interesting. And thank you for that. So, I agree. You need to give people a chance, and it takes, I think, a little bit of a talent. It's a skill to identify, undiscovered gems where you could see something in someone. They might not have any experience in your industry, but if somebody's got the eagerness, the will to succeed and to strive to be the best version of themselves that they can be, then leaders, people, business owners, the ones who are able to identify these gems. It's a talent. It's a real talent. And my approach is just say yes to everything, because I don't know if I have that skill to pick out if somebody's got the gem or not. But just say yes, see what sticks, right? Just throw it all up on the wall. Say yes, let's try. I always say this, when you interview, you can have as many interviews, really structured interviews that pass through all these different phases. That's not even the tip of the iceberg. You can only know once you start.
Correct. I totally agree with that, to be honest.
And even then, people change, right? It's just humans, right? People's interests change, and I think part of the goal of being in a workplace where the people are happy is that you're always active and aware of how the people that are within your team, how their interests are changing, and how you can keep them inspired and focused. And so awesome. Now let's go a little bit back, because you mentioned, and this is maybe a little bit, I guess maybe the first time we're going to speak about a topic like this, and the culture, the pop culture, I don't know, but like entertainment generally, the music industry. And do you still play the piano?
If I say yes, I would be lying. I still know how to play. I don't play that much anymore. I used to teach on weekends up until last year, because I wanted to keep in touch with it. But after a while, especially after starting my own business, there's no weekend anymore. So I had to make that decision. So yeah, I don't play and I don't teach anymore. I used to teach for many years after my degree. I used to teach even in schools in London, both actually piano, cello and guitar. But now, looking back at that kind of version of me, I don't recognize this kind of person. I'm no longer a musician. I'm no longer a pianist. It could be sad, but on the other hand, I made this decision very aware of things, so I'm okay with that.
As long as you got a passion in marketing, I guess. And then there's always, I also don't think it's right to conclude that, and that's not me anymore. Who knows what Themis in 10 years is going to be?
Correct.
Because it's there, right? It's a passion. At least it's something that what might be your hobby or passing time in your later years.
Correct.
I've always wanted to play some kind of an instrument, but I've just never.
Yeah, it takes dedication, and especially piano is kind of lonely. I remember staying within the practice rooms like 10, 12 hours a day alone. But it is what it is. I enjoy it, every minute of it. But yes, it's that kind of version of me, let's say I don't recognize anymore, but it's part of who I was, and probably is what made me today who I am, because this kind of creativity that comes through an art school, if you learn how to marry business and creativity, I think it's very important, because skill is one thing, talent is other, education is different. But if you know how to combine these kind of elements and be creative in everything that you do, I believe you always have a small advantage. Maybe I succeeded to the level I succeeded not because of my skills or knowledge, but because I was also bringing some sort of creativity into it. Not really sure, but I like to think.
I agree with that. Everybody brings their own color, let's call it, within a. You're a marketing guy that's got some background in arts and music, while some other marketing person can be really strong with a background around data science.
Correct. Exactly.
But it's not to say that one is better than the other, but I think both foundational skill sets contribute to the objective, which is marketing.
Correct.
And so one of the questions that I had over here was, so you started out your career in marketing in the entertainment business, and I think London is just like the perfect, beautiful. I love London.
It's amazing.
The shows, and it's amazing. I wish we had something remotely close to that here in Cyprus.
Yeah, maybe one day.
It needs audience. I don't know. It needs interest. It needs there's a market there. There's millions of people there. In London. Over here, we might. I don't know if market maybe is a contributing factor there.
I think it also starts with cultural education, because Vienna is also small, but they are so big in arts. Or for example, other small cities throughout Europe. Let's say Berlin, okay, it's bigger, but it's so artsy at the same time. I think we are not growing into this kind of mold that tells you that culture, theater, music is part of your life, and if you don't start from there, how do you expect this kind of people grow and seeking this kind of cultural outlet?
Yes.
And actually, this was part of my bachelor degree thesis. I was talking about how our educational system, instead of teaching you arts, what I found to be, I don't know how that will sound, but I found it a little bit propagandic. So all the choirs and orchestra and poems and theater plays was all about politics, history, war, resistance, and that's not art. That's let's say programming. And art is actually a very powerful tool to communicate messages. So if I'm investing all my education learning only one thing, first of all, I'm programmed to know only that thing, and then you are just keeping the creative people, from actually being creative. So we never had, let's say, through school, a proper play where it's about Shakespeare, or a proper piece with the orchestra. It was always about history. And I really wanted to touch upon that in my thesis, and actually became a very interesting topic. So yeah, if you don't teach your youth about this kind of things, how do you expect them to seek place later on?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it starts from the fundamentals at the end of the day.
Right. And I think that is just to touch a little bit. I don't want to get into AI, but I think this is something that humans have, that I think AI is not going to be replacing anytime soon, is that creative touch, like communicating a message that is delivered in a format that is extremely creative in the arts industry. Stand-up comedian, comedy, that you speak about really sensitive topics and you deliver it in a format that's easy to absorb, right? And that could also be in the form of a play, or which is super interesting. So you got into marketing. And what did that look like, and how does that compare to what marketing looks like for the Forex industry? Are there comparisons? I guess, so you were talking, there 13 years ago, maybe different frameworks, different marketing channels than what exists today. But maybe some knowledge was or experience was gained from there that has helped you today. Can you expand on that a little bit, what it was then and how it's helped you today?
Of course. So essentially, the framework, as you mentioned, is pretty much there. So moving into a business school later on, both in my master's degree and then in my MBA, is that in order to understand what you want to do, you need to know your product. You need to know your audience. You need to understand the gaps. You need to understand how to differentiate yourself. So let's say the product analysis, the company analysis, the competition analysis, this kind of framework exists. What's changed rapidly is the means that allows you to do this kind of research. So you're not relying, let's say, on old papers or disclosed financial statements. Now you can actually use huge and massive tools that you can really drill down to understand where each competitor's audience is coming from, what channels are working for them, what markets perform better to certain products. And to that extent, you have a lot more channels to actually communicate your messages. And imagine that, I'll give you just one example. Even if you go 2 years back, not 13, and I was telling people TikTok is a new Fintech tool, and people know TikTok, and still even today people know it's all about dancing kids and stuff like that. But now it's so obvious, if you are into it, how the Finfluencers are moving from all across the channels into TikTok. And what does that tells me is that creativity is taking place. So finally there's an outlet for both creative people to put something nice together that is visually appealing, content wise, imagery wise, visual wise, and do something that will still get the same message in a professional manner, but in more entertaining way. Because nobody that sits in their office from 9 to 5 would just look around and trying to see a very serious person talking about Forex. I'm not saying you dance about it and talk about gold, but you can still have very nice visual representation of yourself and make that message a lot more digestible. So the means that you produce your marketing are a lot different. The framework is the same, and the tools are a lot more. And the other thing is that data are a must. So marketing in the old days could be as traditional as you like. You will see trends, you will see spikes in sales. You will try to, let's say, probably it's because we did this. Now every single thing is measured, especially on the online. So there's nothing you do that you cannot measure. Even if I go on a global scale and I put out a global campaign, 10 different key messages, 1,000 varieties of banners and different text layouts, I will know exactly what works best in each location, in each product, and for each specific age group. So this what's changed, but you still need that basic core framework to know how to build this infrastructure, I believe.
Yeah, and so while marketing is not my main thing, but I do consume a lot of content around, the concepts around marketing and how it works, and in discussions like with individuals like yourself. One conclusion that I've made or that I've picked up from the different professionals that I've seen discuss is we keep talking about the algorithm, right? The algorithm. And you can correct me if I'm wrong or maybe give your perspective. The main objective that I've realized out of the algorithm is to identify pure craftsmanship, like actual content that is delivered without the intent of sale, if that makes sense. and different platforms get it done right. So when we talk about the algorithm, there's not one algorithm that covers all. It's different algorithms. So Google has its algorithm on how it works with SEO, different algorithm to how it works on YouTube. TikTok has its own, X has its own, LinkedIn has its own, but all share a common objective, and that's to identify the most valuable pieces of content that have been created that is actually entertaining and actually valuable, and not just a sell.
Correct.
And then that brings in a different dynamic where if you pay, maybe it pays off to not actually sponsor or pay for an ad and just post it in the free format. And if it's good, it's got the chance of going viral.
Correct.
And so I'd like to hear your take on that. And before you do, I've got a small little example. So before this podcast that I started on YouTube, even on a personal capacity, I don't post, and even still today, I don't really post. I don't really engage on social media. But around 4 years ago, in my attempt to be a cool dad, I said, let's make a post on TikTok. One video, one take. It was the first video, one take. I didn't do it. I said, I called my son and I go, let's do a TikTok video together. We did it. That thing blew up. It was my first video. It went to like 40, 50,000 views in a few days.
Nice.
And I thought, is this normal? But then when I spoke about it with other people, they were like, no, that doesn't happen easily,
No, it doesn't. Correct. You were lucky, I think.
Yeah, I was lucky. And it was my very first video. It's still available. But I also, just to show how little I know about it, or how I'm not active on it, I posted it using the DGM handle on TikTok. I had a DGM Tech Solutions handle. It wasn't a personal handle. I just recorded, pressed upload, done. And then some of my clients found me on there, go DGM. So I thought that was quite funny. But give me your perspective on that. Is that the main objective around all these major platforms and how they keep tweaking their algorithm? And I think that'll be valuable information on whoever's setting out to do whatever content, that they actually focus on what the actual content is, as opposed to trying to hack it. Yeah.
So this shift is actually a new reality. So pushy sales, simply people don't like it anymore. I mean, imagine how many years of sales you've been exposed to, and it's pretty much everywhere you go. So the moment you get your phone and you want to get your mind out of things, you don't want to see another ad, you don't want to hear another people selling. At the end of the day, it's like being on the radio. Let's say you're driving, you listen to your favorite song, and then suddenly they put commercials. It's pretty much the same. It's as annoying as the commercials on TV radio, at least for me. So this shift to education, value content that will be entertaining, will be providing information, is easier and has higher probability for people to actually consume it. And this is actually the new trend that we follow also, or a new, let's say, strategy when we have to deal with a client that really wants to grow and do growth marketing. In the past, it used to be banners, text ads, these kind of things. Then they started introducing, let's say, HTML5, animated banners. But now, most clients, I have a client now, a prop firm, they only want to do videos, no static banners. So what we do in order to get the best and most optimal performance is we don't do a Shutterstock, let's say, video or a very generic video and say this firm is doing this, they're best at that, they're best. It could sell, but not as much if you follow this kind of strategy. Is what we call user-generated content. So basically what we do is that we work with one of the biggest influencer firms in the world at this moment as a partner. So we go to them, we say, hi, we have this client, they have this kind of budget, this is their geos, this is their target markets in terms of age, interest, and we want to recruit with this kind of money influencers to generate content for this client. So what we do is that we have these influencers record videos, not necessarily promote them as influencers, because you could also do that, but it's more expensive. So they record these kind of videos, they give us the rights to that genuine content where they talk about the company and the, let's say, what they feel, what they think about it, and we use that content for ads. And the performance is 10 times more, just because you're not using the basic standardized format of videos that they've been used in the past. So yes, people are looking for more authentic content. They are looking for more authentic people behind content, because I may be, let's say, good at what I do, but I could be in front of the camera and I will never make it as an influencer. But that's why you also need to pick the people who are doing the content. You need personas behind the content are also important. So yes, it's definitely a user-generated driven marketing these days. Video is the key here, and of course keep fine-tuning with the algorithms, because they keep changing and changing. But as long as you aim for authenticity, I think you will always be on the right path. And small example, I give you Ryanair, that everybody knows. They started that meme campaign where they make fun of their tickets, they make fun of their seats. They actually took all the negativity around that brand and turned it into a meme.
That's so smart.
Blew up their accounts.
Sure. Wow, I don't know, but that's so smart.
Yes, it's a genius for me.
Because what happens is you take those negative things and the consumer actually enjoys it, because it's been delivered to them in this. That's so smart.
And then what you do without all these people that will make fun of you, or go to, let's say, Twitter before it became X, and say, Ryanair, you are the worst flyer, you are the worst airline, there was a delay, what is this kind of seat that you gave me? Now what they do a TikTok about it, because they are hoping that Ryanair will pick it up and post it. So you see how they change this negative narrative around them, and actually create brand ambassadors for the same people that, instead of complaining, will be posting about them.
Wow. That's blown my mind. That is so freaking smart, because at the end of the day, they're a budget airline.
Yes.
The reason that they delay and they all have all of these experiences which are crappy is because they've cut corners almost to make it a budget airline. And so they've taken that negativity and they've spun it to this super positive thing. Wow. That's so smart.
And they're telling you, guys, this is who I are. You want $50 flight? This is what you get.
It is what it is, yeah.
You want a better seat, pay for it. You want a meal, pay for it. And it's okay, as long as they are bold about it. It was definitely a bold move. But yeah, they made it work. They stick to it. They believed in this idea. Because apparently, I don't think, let's say, the first month they started posting this, everything was amazing. But if the people there didn't believe in it, or gave their team enough time to support this campaign, it could have gone wrong. But they stick to it, and they made it work for them. And SEMrush, for example, is doing a really good job. Yes, these kind of firms, even I see now one of the big fours, I don't remember which one exactly, is it KPMG in London, offices that they're doing dances on TikTok. Like, who would have thought that one of the big fours would be making dances? Nobody. And they say, no, you're not a serious company. who you are to say that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's the perception is changing to what serious means. You don't have to be, let's say, monotonous and keep the strict face to be professional. You can be creative and professional at the same time. And at the end of the day, it's not the partner that is doing the dances. It's the social media team. Give them a chance to be creative with the people that actually be handling your accounts. One doesn't, let's say, cancels the other.
Right. So you mentioned before influencers. That's a big topic there. And you mentioned that you used the biggest influencer platform in the world. Which one is that?
Yeah, Find Your Influence.
Find Your Influence.
Yes.
Okay. What, and findyourinfluence.com?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, yes. And basically, what this platform is doing is a tech provider at the same time. So you have two kind of options. You either go to that platform, you pay your subscription, and then it's like Fiverr or and what's the other one? Similar to Fiverr, that you go and you find.
Freelance.
And you find your own talent, you do all the sorting, you do all the discussion, the negotiations, and it's, let's say, that the means for the influencers to find job and for the companies to find influencers. And at the same time, where they have the full service, where you go directly to them, you tell them your budget, they find the right people for you, they filter them for you. Of course, then you have the final say and decide, yes, I want to go with this and this and this guy. They go back to them, they deal with the campaign, they deal with the contract, they deal with all the fuss, they all deal with that. So at the end of the day, what you pay is what you get. You don't have to worry about anything else. And they have a global reach. They have from mini to macro influencers, up to, let's say, if you want to book Lady Gaga, for example. So, and of course they have by niche. So they also have influencers for our kind of industry, and that's why we also work with them. And they tell you, is, for example, I'm looking for influencers in a very peculiar region that is not very fintech friendly. They will tell me, you know what, the influencers that we have is very limited. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of people there that might worth doing influencer campaign. So I like this kind of transparency. And it's very interesting and very helpful.
You're using terminology there that I didn't know exist. Finfluencer, which is an influencer in the fintech space.
Correct. It's a term coined through social media throughout time. So it's the kind of influencers that talk about finances or talk about fintech. It's not, let's say, one day they talk about cooking and their cat, and the next day they talk about finances. It's probably an analyst or probably somebody that have been in that space for a long time. They know what they're talking about, but they took it to the influencer side of things. So they talk about trends, they talk about wallets, about exchanges, their opinion about each. So it's like somebody who's very expert in fashion, they talk about bags. It's pretty much like that. So it's because it's such a niche industry, they coined this kind of term to them.
So am I heading to be a finfluencer?
I hope so. You are on the right track. You just need a little bit more exposure, just you. Take your phone, do more short video formats on TikTok. You never know. I could be hiring you for clients one day.
That's funny. I mean, I don't have these kinds of objectives there. If it happens, it happens. But there's a lot happening that I'm quite busy with. So that's interesting. Now, let's talk a little bit here about. So you mentioned you focus on the prop trading space and brokerage.
Correct.
And I'm going to bring a few questions here because there's one that's interesting for me at this point in my life, and that's do you have any involvement with the gaming, so online gaming, casino sector?
Not yet, to be honest. Usually they are more niche firms for this kind of marketing because they are experts in mobile app marketing. But Uveler is working with one of them as a partner. Is one of my favorite companies to work with this kind of clients is at Quantum in Limassol. These guys know exactly what to do when a gaming company comes in.
At Quantum.
Correct. And the manager there is a friend of mine, a good friend of mine and colleague. And instead of me trying to do something that I'm not an expert in, I would rather take them to the right door. And at the end of the day, you cannot. Yes, marketing has some basic fundamentals, but you cannot do everything with the best possible results and in all industries. So gaming is more peculiar. It goes into the upper level. It goes into different stores, web stores and things like that. You can do advertising also through different kind of, let's say, advertising platforms. And I would rather take that client to the right person to do that instead.
So one term that's coming that I'm hearing a lot of as I get a little bit involved in that industry is streamers. Have you heard of streamers?
Of course, they've been around for a long time.
Do we have streamers in the fintech space?
We do, and they are all of them on Discord now.
Okay.
So another good example, Discord, pretty much like we mentioned earlier about TikTok. It used to be a gamer space a few years back. Only gamers would be there, only gamers would know about it. Nobody else knew about it, and now I don't know a single prop firm, especially prop firms. Forex brokers are still picking up, but prop firms are definitely on Discord. If they are not, they should be, and because communities now are moving to this kind of, let's say, closed environments. Although it's very open at the same time, it's very closed at the same time because you can create different channels. And streamers have their, let's say, platform to talk freely about their experiences. There's open dialogue. There's no too much filtration. It's not like the other channels where you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, but there's no space for the viewer to actually come and say something. So Discord is where communities are built, I believe. And to build a community, it has to be a two-way street. So yes, you can see how YouTube streamers are moving towards that direction. That is either Discord or TikTok, to do their live broadcasts, to host their seminars, their chats, their talks, their experiences. And YouTube is still strong because it's, let's say, the cloud that hosts everything. It's becoming more like a library rather than a broadcast channel, and then they utilize this other channel to broadcast that message and get them back to their library, for example.
Understood. So for those who don't know, why don't you give a describe what is a streamer?
Streamer is, let's say, an older version of an influencer, but in a long format version of things. So, and the other difference here is that a streamer could be live for hours, talking about just, I don't know, he's on his phone or he's playing a game, he just chats about it. And everybody who's interested about what he's doing, they will hop in and enjoy that. Influencer, usually it's like a project that it has a start and an end, specific amount of time. If you're on TikTok, it's usually, let's say, 40 seconds. If you're on YouTube, it could be 45 minutes. But streaming could be hours. So it's another way of live broadcasting, but as flexible as you want it to be. There are no restrictions, no agenda, no topics in mind. I'm just here streaming myself. I'm playing League of Legends, for example.
League of Legends,
and I want people to know what I'm doing, and I'm streaming about it. Or you know what, today I will trade futures and I will spend 6 hours on futures trading, correct? I don't want to talk about it. I just want to put my camera on and stream it. That's it. People will see my platform. If I feel like talking, I might talk. You know, there's no certain walls or certain rules. It's just you being live. You're streaming what you're doing at that very moment.
So it's like joining somebody in the living room or in the TV room and playing a PlayStation game, Call of Duty, and you're kind of enjoying the
Correct.
game, but just producing that in a broadcast format,
Yeah.
and then allowing engagement.
You could allow engagement
where
yeah.
people could be speaking to you if you wanted to, and so this is very interesting, I think, and in the online betting, the online gaming. So gaming is this, let's say, two different. There's the one is like Call of Duties, the League of Legends, the Diablos space, where it's pure gaming. And then there's also the online casinos, or sports betting, roulette, slots, and whatever. And it's from what I've understood, it's a marketing format. It's a marketing mechanism that started out with the gamers for fun, because
Correct.
they just wanted to engage with their friends online, but they were not able to get to each other's homes or whatever. Let's just connect online and play.
Correct.
Whatever. And then that kind of spiraled into an opportunity for marketing. And so that's why I asked, and it's kind of trickling down. So from there, trickled down to casino games.
Correct.
And now prop trading, I guess, and the brokerage. And I think what's really valuable, at least for the audience that's listening, who are mainly focused on brokerage and prop trading, if they're not doing that, maybe there is an early land grab here with regard to how you market your product.
It's as you said, an opportunity, because exactly the reason why you are in this kind of financial industry, you have a lot of regulations to follow. You have a lot of restrictions, and having a proper campaign out there takes a lot of effort to manage and approve it by each of the platforms. And of course, that comes with a lot of restrictions, not only from your compliance that will come and strip all the nice words out of your campaign and all the nice promises or false promises, because they need to protect you, and that's the right thing to do. But you go through that first filtering through your internal compliance, and then you have to deal with the secondary filtering, which is the ad platform itself. So you can get the green light for your compliance. You think you are ready to launch your campaign, and then Google comes and say, you need to change this. I don't agree with this. No, this you cannot use. This is violation. This is ad policy restriction. And then you have to keep and reducing, and at the end of the day, you end up doing pretty much what everybody is doing, because there's so much rigorous scrutiny around what you're broadcasting out there. And yes, that's where the streaming or live or video format comes in, that allows you to speak without this much, let's say, scrutiny. Of course, you have to be careful what you're talking. You're representing a brand, but you don't worry that if I say the word Forex, Google will block me.
Yes.
Correct? So you can still say Forex, you can still say trading, you can still say these kind of keywords that Meta or Google will never allow you to even put on a banner or a text ad freely, as long as you keep and you don't say, we guarantee that you're going to win. The rest, it's fine. So this kind of mediums allows you to communicate to what you want to say freely, without the ad policy violation fear, let's say.
Right.
So it's definitely an opportunity.
So there's Yeah, now that we're speaking about that, so that's one aspect, is the rules and potentially being banned by the actual platform owners. But then there's also the regulator.
Yes.
So the SISEC, or the FCA or the FSCA in South Africa, or BaFin or whatever, and that is a big challenge for compliance, because if you've got a streamer that's streaming their trading activity and promoting your brand and is saying, guys, I'm going long on NASDAQ, you're going to make money, that's going to be a penalty. And how do you even control that?
The keyword here is what you said, is I'm going to make a lot of money. But if you say today I'm thinking to go long and see where this takes me,
yes,
it's a big risk, guys, but I want to try it, I want to see, I believe in this, that's, I think, okay. But of course you have to be following the policies that comes from your compliance. But at the same time, the good thing is that the streamer doesn't have to be your employee, correct?
Yes.
It could be an IB, it could be an affiliate, it could be any kind of partner. So these kind of partnerships have slightly more flexibility because they're not legally bound to your company.
I think the broker will get into trouble. So let's say, for example, a broker hires an influencer, and that influencer starts giving all these empty promises. Or maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is a compliance thing. The broker is going to be held responsible.
If you're affiliate that you hired legally and you paid money to him to do anything for your brand, yes, you'll be held accountable. Right. That's why they need to follow the processes. What I meant before is that, on the other hand, if somebody is happy with your service and there's no legal contract behind it, there's no legal, let's say, binding connection with that guy, and let's say Mario's ex, it's a good trader, he started trading with my company, he's super happy, he wants to talk about it on his socials, he can say whatever he wants. But if I go and give money to Mario's ex and say, Maria, talk about this, tell them how good everything is, how amazing these kind of things are, I think this is where it gets trickier. But of course, you always need to be careful how people talk about your brand. Either legally, either they have contract or not, you still need to do ORM and be careful of how people are talking about you, because false promises are false promises. You don't want to overpromise anything that you cannot guarantee yourself. So yes, be careful, of course, on how your affiliates are talking about you. But yes, if you have somebody that is a super excited client that you haven't paid anything, you'll be blessed if he goes and talks about it.
Yes. Right, so you mentioned in terms of streaming platforms, Discord is one, I know Twitch is another.
Twitch is another. X is becoming now again back in the game very strongly. Elon seems to be making wonders. I don't know how he does all that, but he changed the entire advertising platform and algorithms, both for the advertiser and the people that see the ads. Telegram is really good for communities as well. WhatsApp marketing is strong. I think there's opportunity everywhere, depending where you are also focusing. So you cannot expect, let's say, somebody to say Twitter works everywhere, X works everywhere, TikTok works everywhere. No, each region has one or two channels that perform a lot better or are more popular than others. And then you go to another region and see suddenly that, I didn't know this, Snapchat. Yes. For example, did you know that Snapchat is picking up on financial industries? Exactly. Yeah. It's growing so much, and nobody see it coming.
I thought Snapchat's dead.
We all thought that as well. I thought that as well, but apparently not yet. So yes, companies are not giving up. Pinterest is growing so much.
Wow. Okay.
Especially on the SEO level. So if you know what each platform can give you, and you do a nice strategy, and you know where to put your money into, there's something that you can get from each platform. As long as you don't expect the same results, you put the same rules for every single channel, for every single country.
So if I do, let's say I'm a potential customer, I come to you and I say, I think you're gonna, this is standard answer. I'm assuming you're gonna give it. It depends, and of course it depends. But many oftentimes I see this. The customer just wants an answer, right?
Yes.
So just give me a defined answer
every time.
Yes. So what would you say is the best platform? I've got. So I mean, I know where it depends, right? So if you've got a 5K budget, if you've got a 20K budget, where's the geo target? What is your industry? All of these things. What would you say is the best strategy for a limited budget that a company has? Because here's the thing, right? You got these big companies who've got a really big budget, but then again, they try out different platforms, they try out different strategies, and they allocate a certain budget to that. Even big companies who've got a big budget to allocate, again, there's an allocation for trying out new things. And of course, if it's a startup or small business that doesn't have a lot of capital, let's say, their budget is limited, and they have almost like one shot. I need to strike this match, and it's got to light the first time I strike it. What would be your advice there?
So this is the most typical kind of discussions we have with clients, is because now with the prop firms, it's actually a lot of startups around. It's not like with the brokerage industry that the majority is out there for a long time, and maybe they are looking to switch to a different provider. But with prop firms, we get a lot of startups. They have a lot of limitations on budgets, on resources, and they all come to say the exact same story that you just mentioned. I have this amount of budget, I want to go everywhere, I want to be the best prop firm in the next year. Where should we start? Mm-hmm. It's never an easy answer, and because what you need to do, the first thing you need to do if you want to be professional is to manage their expectations. You cannot do everything. You cannot be everywhere, and you will not succeed so fast. Maybe you could, I'm not saying that you won't, but you should never overpromise, because you could be doing the best practices, you could be doing the best marketing tactics, the best allocation of resources, you did your research, but the product might not work. Awesome. So that's something that you need to put into a test. Your brand, nobody knows it. So the first thing I would do is to tell them the roadmap of what it takes to succeed based on benchmarks. So the first thing they need to understand is that if you go into a new market and nobody knows you, into a prop firm, let's say, industry that, let's be honest, the people, when they hear prop firms, at least a lot of them say, it's a scam, it's not going to last. We hear that a lot. It's like options and Forex when they were starting, 20 years ago. It's pretty much the same. So what you need to do first is to tell them that, first of all, you need to convince people that you are not a scam. Then you need to convince them that there are real people behind it, because yes, there are also a lot of scams out there. Mm-hmm. Like two people from their house opening a proprietary platform and try to scam people. So you need to tell them that, you know what, if we do this, you need at least 6 months to start seeing good results. Now, to answer your question, which platforms are more popular? Google has always been the leading platform for lead generation and conversion. because there's a lot of data there to help you optimize faster. But at the same time, Meta, for some reason, it still works a lot. I just hope one day it stops working, because it's the worst platform to manage on an ad level. It's a nightmare.
Really? Why?
I don't think they even internally they know what they're doing. The platform changes so much all the time that everything is different every week that you want to do something. So a solid recommendation, I think it would be Google. To do a little bit of brand awareness and then switch it within 2 or 3 months to lead gen and conversion. But again, it has to be very carefully. You need to see how the brand reacts to each market. That's why you always start with a testing budget, and then you fine tune from there. So even if you come to me with 20K, the first month will not be 20K. We need to start with the first couple of weeks with 2-3K. Test the banners, test the campaign that you provided, see what the messaging is about, and from there fine tune before we invest more. And the other thing is video content. So Google is part of also YouTube Shorts. So you need to go through these kind of channels through Google to get maximum, let's say, brand awareness and lead generation. And from there, I would actually be from Google, to be honest. I'm still a Google guy. So yes, it's something that I would definitely recommend.
So to break that down, actually, when we say Google, what that actually means practically is you need a website
Yes.
that can be picked up by Google. So when we say Google, it's different to when we talk about Facebook, or when we talk about X or LinkedIn, which means you go and you create a page within those specific platforms. LinkedIn means you have a page, and then you do some kind of marketing that leads to that page within the LinkedIn ecosystem, or X or whatever. When we say Google, it's not as if Google has this platform or page, not to my awareness. Actually, there is where details about your business comes up on the side, but the main thing is you need to have an SEO friendly website that the Google web crawlers can find, and YouTube, which is Google again. So could you clarify that? Is my understanding right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what you're describing now are two different things. So the Facebook page or the TikTok channel or the YouTube channel are standalone shops or stores or windows of your business. The same thing as a website is. And you need to have all this everywhere. As you mentioned, you need a website in order to be indexed, in order to start ranking on Google and things like that. But nowadays, search is not only on Google, it's also on TikTok. So I'm sure what you did, and you probably didn't notice, is that for few things you are searching, if you are a TikTok user of course, you are searching for things on TikTok. Top 10 brokers, best prop firms, the best handbag, the best belt for 2025. So what we see is a switch of the search engine behavior into the social platforms. So that kind of thing, building your page or building your profile or building your website, it's the organic thing to do, and you need to do it everywhere. When it comes to the advertising side of things, you're not going to actually promote your page or your channel. Actually, the best practice is to create a very specific landing page, because a company could have a lot of selling points and you cannot sell everything to everyone. So you need to understand, first of all, which market you want to go after. Let's say you go to MENA region. There's going to be a different selling points, a different visual that you need to put out there rather than going to Malaysia or Indonesia or where else. So that channel, that landing page has to have the right message, has to have the right design, and the right conversion elements. So all your advertising efforts throughout all the channels should be leading to that page, to that landing page. And from there, you give them the very key message very fast in order to get them to sign up. And then you accomplish only the first step of the funnel. Then it comes the education, the awareness, the information up to the point that might convert. So that's how you should be thinking about doing, let's say, a global campaign. And that's what is usually happening up until this point, to be honest. The only thing that businesses have to start thinking about is that exactly this is only the step one. So in the past, you'll get the leads in and sales will start calling. Now there's actually so many things you can do on a marketing level that you could be converting this kind of leads without the sales touch, or at least not very early until it becomes, let's say, a qualified lead. So is where you start building email flows, email trigger points. Let's say if somebody signs up but didn't make a deposit after 2 days, send them not a reminder, don't push sales on them, send them a nice webinar that you did in the past that might find interested, send them a nice ebook, send them something, give them some more value before you go and asking them about their money. In after 5 days, check on them. How are they doing? Do they need any support? We are here for you. Reach out if you need any help, if you have any questions. Then, did you know that we also offer this? So this is how you should be thinking marketing these days. Growth journey is not just to get people into the door anymore. It's to actually try and convert them. And this is a new challenge for marketing that is no longer a lead gen and branding machine. It's also a conversion machine these days, and you can be automating these kind of things, and you could be running an established business without needing any sales if you cannot afford at the beginning, for example.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think this old way of thinking, this conventional way where the marketing, where it was split into two different processes, where marketing's objective is bring in potential customers in the door and then hand over to sales, quote unquote, to convert those customers. I think what does make a lot of sense is don't have that objective of just bringing people to the door. Just create a consistent flow of engagement and content.
Correct.
Some may convert, some may not convert, but keep it valuable, that content. And what will happen, just based on my logic, is it'll serve as reminders to those who were thinking about signing up before. If you just keep that content consistent, it'll serve as a reminder. It also serves as awareness for people who did not know about you. Every time you publish something new, you post something new, you've gotten attracted someone else who didn't hear about you because you commented on something that you didn't comment before. So now you've expanded your net, and just keep that consistently flowing, and then let the chips fall in place.
Yeah. And it's not that sales are not needed. Sales are very important, but I think they no longer have to go and push people to deposit. They could be there as partners. So support, show them around, tell them about your business, your ethics, your how you want to be assisting them to succeed, for example. And exactly as you said, you need to keep a very nice and interrupted journey. You shouldn't just forget about the people who registered and didn't deposit within 2 months, for example, because one thing I've learned through the startups I've been, because usually I was always in startups phases of the companies I've worked, is that you could get, 100,000 leads the first 6 months because you spend a lot of money, and then sales will come, none of them converted, bad leads. But what they don't understand is that the brand equity is not there yet to get the people deposit. But respect this kind of pool of leads. I'm not saying all of them are qualified or quality. There's no magic formula, but most of them might be converting. And what I've seen is that as the company grows, as the brand awareness and equity grows, you will see people who joined you a year ago start depositing. Because now you've proved yourself to them. Because exactly, there are so many brokers out there. There's so many profiles popping up every day. So why would you expect that you go into the market today and you expect people to trust you?
Yeah.
It takes some effort. It takes some consistency.
Of course.
So respect that decision-making journey of the user as well. Respect their time to trust you. And if you are really here for the long run, you should stick to your plan.
Words of wisdom from a professional in the industry. At Uveler, you help businesses in all what we've discussed today. Do you want to maybe give some info about Uveler? Uveler, right?
Correct. Yes.
What does that mean?
So actually, this name came up out of nowhere. It didn't have a meaning, but it's so catchy at the same time. When I was trying to find the name, I wanted something like Uber. Right. Probably didn't mean anything before,
yes.
But let's make a term out of it.
Yes.
So that name came up from a friend, and we liked it. We gave it a meaning. It's Juve and Ler. If we go into ancient Greek, it has a meaning of giving information and supporting, comes also from wisdom. So we want to educate people first and help them to grow rather than just get somebody, give us some money, very quickly leave, being happy and say, I tried another firm, I didn't like it. So we believe in this kind of strategic partnership with the clients that we onboard. And it takes time to onboard them because we want to make sure that they have everything in place. So I think that's the meaning that I like to give to it.
Okay, and how do you help businesses? You want to give a bit of a description?
Sure. So we have, let's say, a full suite of services that go from social media management, even from the content calendar, content creation, and designs, banners and videos, to the point of the publication based on the calendar we prepared. Web design and development. We have really strong developers on Arsenal that we can develop from a simple, let's say, WordPress website up to integrate a PSP, a new PSP for a Forex broker. And of course, the development time comes with a certain capacity, so we don't have, let's say, the means to accommodate a lot of projects at the same time, but we prefer it that way because we want to provide quality work. And of course, our biggest, let's say, focus is the digital marketing, the growth part, is where we take a company and we try to grow them into certain markets, so they are of where they want to expand, or if they want to penetrate a new market, take them there with the right means. And the other more, let's say, traditional ways, press release distributions, influencers and things like that. And for some of these kind of things, we have our partners, like the influencers I mentioned earlier. We do the strategy, we do all the, let's say, strategic operational oversight of things. We talk with them. The client is always involved for full transparency. So yeah, it's let's say I don't want to say one-stop solution for all. Our focus is mostly on growth, and growth comes also from having a very good, let's say, website, client area, CMS, because it will allow you to grow. And in this kind of industries, it's never one language, never one market. So you have to be ready to give them a system that can actually take them globally.
Femi, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
I enjoyed this conversation. There's a lot of useful information.
Thank you.
I'm going to definitely look at it myself and get those names and those solutions that you mentioned.
Of course.
It was a pleasure having you. Thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.